Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'd like to open with a quote from the Talmud, and then I'd like you to help me puzzle it with me. It's going to give us three things that at first glance don't seem to have anything in common, but let's see if we can find how they're related. The Talmud teaches there are three things that deplete a person's strength: travel, fear, and sin. Three things that deplete a person's strength: travel, fear, and sin. What do those three things have in common, other than that they deplete your strength?
They occupy your mind and your space, and they kind of distract you.
They can distract you, they can take up all of your thoughts. Yes?
Sometimes when you take a trip, there's some trepidation associated with the trip, and sometimes there's some temptations.
You going to Vegas, Chuck? Chuck says sometimes when you're preparing for a trip, you're both a little nervous about the trip, and maybe there's some temptations you meet along the way in a foreign setting. Yes?
All three of those things have uncontrolled momentum.
They have an uncontrollable, did you say momentum?
Yes. Fear grows. It grows uncontrollably. So does travel. You don't always control anything when you're outside your home. And sin can lead to more sin. Temptation leads to more. It's almost as if three of those things, the momentum, the moving, can spiral you out of control because you can't always control it.
Okay, so there's an aspect of things that can't be controlled. I saw a connection that they're all a departure from the familiar. So travel is obvious. If you're away from home, foods, language, clothing, those things can be totally unfamiliar. Fear is the same thing. We're afraid of things that aren't familiar, and it causes us to forget what we know. When we're afraid, we forget the resources that we could be drawing upon to give ourselves strength and get us out of a tough situation. And sin causes us to travel away from our best self. Every morning we say, Elohai nishama shenatata bi, right? God, thank you for returning my pure soul to me. That's our essence. That's who we truly are. But when we're afraid, when we sin, and when we travel, there's a distancing from what is familiar. So now back to your homework assignment. We're told in this parsha, do not be afraid. How many times? 3. Yes. Someone else said 4. I think you could break it down depending on, because the command has said, don't be afraid and do be brave. You might count that as 2 separate. So Moses is told once, and Joshua is told, or the people are told once by Moses, and Joshua, he's told twice by Moses, be brave. There's a mitzvah this week to be brave, and I don't think that it's coincidental that we read this parsha during the 10 days of awe, or in a period of time when we're supposed to be doing tshuva, because tshuva is a journey. Tshuva brings up fear, and tshuva causes us to contemplate sin. So we're being told in this week's parsha, don't be afraid. Remember the setting at the very end of Deuteronomy. Moses comes down and says, I can't go with you across the Jordan. Can you imagine what the people were thinking? Wait, we've been on this 40-year journey together. We're coming to the hardest part where we have to go in and take possession of the land, and you're not coming? You know, Moses, the last time you left us for any length of time, say 40 days on a mountain, it didn't go so well for us. We did not do a great job without you. Can you imagine the fear they must have been feeling? Now, if you will, please, open up your prayer books to page 40. Because I think this image of conquering the land can be read metaphorically. I think it can be read as the enemy within. I think the wandering in the wilderness and the trying to settle in back home, back to where Abraham came from, can be read as a metaphor for the period of tshuva. We're trying to return to our best self. This is the psalm that we say during this period of awe, these 10 days in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and in fact, even at the beginning of Elul, a month leading in to Rosh Hashanah and about halfway through Sukkot. This is the psalm we say. Look if you see any parallel imagery about trying to conquer enemies and being told, just as Moses tells us in this parsha, don't be afraid, God is with you. A psalm of David. The Lord is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I dread? Yes, read it with me. When evildoers draw near to slander me, when foes threaten, they stumble and fall. Though armies be arrayed against me, I will have no fear. Though wars threaten, I remain steadfast in my faith. One thing I ask of the Lord, for this I yearn, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold his beauty, to pray in his sanctuary. He will hide me in his shrine, safe from peril. He will shelter me beyond the reach of disaster. He will raise my head high above my enemies. I will bring him offerings with shouts of joy, singing, chanting praise to the Lord. O Lord, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me. If you I seek, says my heart. It is your presence that I seek, O Lord. Hide not from me, reject not your servant. You have always been my help. Do not abandon me. Forsake me not, my God of deliverance. Though my father and my mother leave me, the Lord will care for me. Teach me your way, O Lord. Guide me on the right path to confound my oppressors. Abandon me not to the will of my foes. False witnesses have risen against me, people who breathe out lies. Mine is the faith that I surely shall see the Lord's goodness in the land of the living. Hope in the Lord and be strong. Take courage. Hope in the Lord. Did you see that imagery of fighting an enemy and being reassured that God is with you? And did you also see the imagery of a desire to return home? One thing I ask, may I dwell in the house of the Lord forever? So that's the process of tshuva. It's wrestling with the enemy, and it's asking to return back to one's purest origins. Ben Zoma taught, who is mighty? Those who conquer their evil impulse. As it is written in Proverbs, those who are slow to anger are better than the mighty, and those who rule over their spirit are better than those who can conquer a city. May we all be blessed with a brave and mighty spirit as we complete these days of awe together and journey home to our Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tahorahi, our pure soul. Shabbat Shalom.